Hello everyone. My name is Sia and I'm the campaigns officer for the University of Nottingham Amnesty Society. We have chosen to support the campaign Dignity and Empowerment for Women in Kenyan Slums and fundraising for raising awareness about how grassroots initiatives and international advocacy can work together to advance women's rights. Through this campaign, we have been collaborating with Shining Hope for Communities, or SHOFCO, a non-profit organization that directly works with local communities to provide critical services such as education, healthcare, clean water, and economic empowerment programs. Essential focus of their work is supporting women and girls, helping them access education, opportunities, resources, and enabling them to advocate for their own rights and improve their livelihoods. This panel webinar can't be more important and timelier, as it's International Women's Day and International Women's Month throughout this month. Personally, having family relations, I feel very passionate about this campaign, and having seen personally the work that SHOFCO does, I'm proud to have our society collaborating with them. Our guest speaker today is Caroline Sakwa, who's head of SHOFCO's Gender and Inclusion Program, and is going to give us some insight into SHOFCO's work in regard to grassroots activism and gender equality. Before continuing, what we're discussing may have sensitive topics that may be distressing, such as violence and abuse. Please feel free to step out if necessary. Thank you so much for joining, Caro. Oh, if we can't hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my first question is, for those unfamiliar with SHOFCO, can you briefly explain your mission and how your gender inequality work fits within it?
Okay, thank you so much, Sia. My name is Caroline Sakwa again. I head the Gender and Inclusion Department in SHOFCO. Basically, when you look at SHOFCO's work across different counties in Kenya, it originally started in Kibera slums. Kibera slum is one of the largest slums in East Africa. It's densely populated. According to very many statistics and studies, it has shown that it has over around 500,000 people living in a very small square meters, like 2,000 people living per 1 hectare. So by the end of the day, when you picture that, you'll see a population that is really unmanageable and all that. So in regards to SHOFCO work in relations to issues of gender equality and dignity, SHOFCO has a primary mission of trying to transform the community by working with the community to find solutions for themselves and build a sustainable, thriving communities where we are free, the community is free from violence, the community is able to access basic needs and basic and amenities, and also ensuring that the dignity and aspect of women and girls is first priority in informal settlements, looking that we are in this informal settlements in a slum. So basically, when you look at gender equality and issues of addressing the gender cultural norms, challenging that in the African context, especially in informal settlements where there are lack of basic needs, it's a very important aspect for SHOFCO as an organization. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Then what would you define dignity and what does that mean in practices in the communities in Kenya?
Yeah, when you look at dignity in the context of SHOFCO, is all about self-worth of a human person. You look at dignity, you look at how are people respected within a community, how people engage to give their voices in terms of the issues that are affecting them, how are people treated as partners in problems that are affecting them, and how do we come in to support that transformation in a one single person or at the same time in a big community of many people. So for us, dignity is key. Dignity is the aspect of self-respect, appreciating the human rights aspect, respecting that, and ensuring you're putting that one particular person at the center of their change in terms of making their lives better. Yeah.
Great. Could you then share a story or an example of something that captures the real impact of your gender programs?
Yes, we in the gender work, we do a lot of gender and inclusion work. And one of the major aspect and strategy we do is gender-based violence prevention. We do a lot of work around prevention, where we try to train the community to become protectors of women and girls, and even men and boys in their own communities. And one story I will share: on a daily basis, we have a team of caseworkers, a team of program officers, a team of regional leads who are able to coordinate 15 counties in Kenya. We are in 15 counties where we do gender work and child protection. And a typical story of a young girl who is 16 years of age, defiled or sexually abused by a man who is around 40 to 45 years of age, and this girl become very vulnerable and very needy. So what we do as gender, you'll find we assign that case to a caseworker who will journey with that 16-year-old girl, rescue her from that kind of an abuse, able to take her to hospital within 72 hours to get medical care, and from there report the case to the police station so that the perpetrator is held accountable and arrested. From there, the girl, let's find a name for this girl and call her Riziki. From there, Riziki will be taken to a safe shelter where she'll be taken away from a very abusive environment to a safe house where she'll receive psychosocial support, she'll receive counseling, and the case will also be reported to the police and eventually go to court. And Riziki will appear in court, testify what happened, and really the case goes through a lot of court process, and eventually Riziki gets justice by the perpetrator being maybe jailed for life or for 20 years or maximum or even 30 years. And from there, Riziki will smile again, and she'll feel like her justice has been achieved. And from our part of impact, will enable Riziki to rebuild her life again and start all over, and just ensure that psychologically she's okay, and also support the family adequately to support Riziki to recover fully. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's how impact looks for us in our gender work, especially when it comes to child protection and women work. Yeah.
Definitely, that's great about justice.
Yeah.
What would you say are the most pressing challenges then that women face in informal settlements like Kibera? Would you say this is one of them?
Yes, sexual gender-based violence is one of the major challenges women and girls face in Kibera. And when you look at Kibera as a slum, Kibera lacks, like there's no electricity in some parts of Kibera, and there's no proper toilets. You can see a family or a group of or family of 20 family using one toilet. That means there's lack of proper sanitation. There's a lot of safety issues. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of lack of economic opportunities for women. And this puts women at a very vulnerable situations. So those are some of the challenges women and the community face in Kibera and any other slums in Kenya.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would you say is the role that men plays in your gender work? And have you noticed men's participation in women's equity?
Yes, we do a lot. Apart from the gender and inclusion work in SHOFCO, we have a program called the SHOFCO Urban Network. SHOFCO Urban Network is a program that brings around communities in terms of leadership roles in the simplest formation of a community, where we start from a very lower level, like a village. We go to a ward level. I don't know how you'll describe it in your country, but in Kenya, there's ward level, there's sub-county level, then there's a level that so within the SHOFCO Urban Network, it's a network of mobilizing communities to find solutions for their own issues. So through the SHOFCO Urban Network, we have male leaders. So through the male leaders, we train them to become advocates and champions of protectors of women and girls. They are able to challenge the cultural norms within these communities. They are able to be in leadership discussions where they see how best they make some of the areas safe or all the areas safe for women and girls. They're able to come up with campaigns where they really like denounce the issues of gender-based violence and really educate the community on the aspect of protecting women and girls, and also looking at gender not as a women issue, but gender basically as a human rights focused issue, and also it affects both men and women. And also just basically they become our allies in terms of preaching about let's prevent gender-based violence in our communities, let's support women and girls, let's be their protectors. And through that, we are able to engage the male as champions in our work. Yeah, that's how we work with them, and many other aspects of community mobilization and sensitization.
Definitely, definitely. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about SHOFCO's work on your gender team. Could you address the economic exclusion that also happens? I know you've mentioned the gender-based violence, but I'd love to hear about economic exclusion as well.
Yeah, so basically, one of the major root cause of gender-based violence in African context is poverty. Like most women who lack economic opportunities tend to be extremely vulnerable to gender-based violence issues. And also when you see girls, they're young, they are lacking sanitary supplies, they lack a lot of maybe school items, and they tend now to be taken advantage of by older men in the sense of supporting them. So you see like economic empowerment and issues of sustainability, livelihood opportunities for women and girls is really an important key aspect. When you look at SHOFCO, we have various programs. Gender and inclusion is just one of the programs. Then we have a program called Sustainable Livelihood Program, where we work with women to train them in income generating activities so that women can get empowered to take care of their own needs in terms of economic aspect. So whenever we get support, we get clients who are older women and who need to be linked to the Sustainable Economic Livelihood Program, we're able to link them up. They're able to be trained on IGAs. They're able to make money to be able to take care of their families, and now that reduces their vulnerability. Like for example, like you last week we got a case of a woman who was 32 years of age, married with 4 children, but always being beaten by the husband, and she didn't have any job, like no aspect of economic empowerment. When we rescued her, she really wanted some time to be in our safe house, so she stayed in our safe house for around she's still in our safe house, but currently she's being engaged in a SHOFCO Women Empowerment Program where they're trained in IGAs, and she's also receiving a lot of counseling and legal aid support. And currently, her dream, her wish is when she comes out of the safe house, she'll be able to start her own business and live with her children and be taken away from the abusive husband and environment. So when you look at that, when you talk about economic exclusion for women, you create an opportunity for this woman to become again economically empowered and make her own informed decisions and just remove herself from that space of vulnerability. So that's a typical case, and many other cases that we help within the SHOFCO programs. Yeah.
That's great. In your view then, what do you view as long-term sustainable empowerment? What does it look like beyond just short-term interventions?
So when you talk about the long-term interventions, what we are talking about is apart from just changing a life of one particular person, is looking at the overall aspect of how do we ensure that we maintain the same kind of transformation, social transformation within the communities. And this is where we look at working with community and government aspects to ensure that whatever work and implementations we are doing and the projects we are doing, they'll be long sustainable even after SHOFCO goes. Like for example, in our work, when we work with communities, we empower the community to become leaders within their own communities and get into leadership spaces so that they're able to change policies and influence policies that will be there for many years for it to be able to be cascaded to the community itself and ensure structural barriers are addressed and ensure that there is long-term ownership of these projects even after the projects, and in terms of how does our man continue changing their mindsets with regards to sexual gender-based violence or just gender-based violence or child protection, and continue being committed to protecting the lives of other community members in the different communities. So with that, and also challenging the cultural barriers, the norms, and also promoting a lot of community leadership and development of young women leaders will remain leaders for many years to come, so that is well passed within the different communities. So when you look at long term, those are the aspects and the different factors we consider in all our programs, and the fact that the community is able to own most of these projects that we are running. For us, it gives us a confidence that there'll be long-term sustainability of these projects, and also the long-term social transformation of communities within informal settlements in Kenya. Yes.
So we've mentioned that some of the challenges that women face, for example, the unsafe housing, lack of sanitation, limited healthcare, and barriers to education. These fall under the rights that governments are meant to oblige to protect. As a grassroots organization, what partnership with the government?
Pardon? Sorry?
No, sorry, don't worry. What partnerships do you see as SHOFCO with the government? We're meant to be protecting these rights of women.
Yes. So one thing about our work is we are coming to complement what the government is already doing. For example, most of our programs are social programs. For example, for gender and inclusion work, one thing we are also doing, we are having a lot of meetings and engagement with the government. For example, for this year, together with the government, SHOFCO is committed to work with the government to build safe houses for women and girls in almost 5 counties. These safe houses are county or government safe houses constructed by SHOFCO, but will be run by the government, so that the government is becoming very inclusive in our work and also supporting our work and eventually becoming owners of this work in terms of ensuring the safe house will last and last for years to come. So, for example, in the gender and inclusion, working with the government to build safe houses, having meetings with the government to align with the national gender-based violence strategy that encompasses everything that involves implementation of GBV prevention and response work, and also working with the Directorate of Children's Services to ensure we are aligning with the Children's Act within the Constitution of Kenya in terms of protecting children. And also when you look at other programs within SHOFCO, like the education program, they also do most of the implementation with the education department. That is a ministry within the government, to ensure that as we support girls to go back to school, as we support providing scholarship programs, we are also aligned to the government strategy. And even when you talk about water, sanitation, and hygiene, SHOFCO is also building water and sanitation facilities in schools, like toilets, blocks for children in public schools where the facilities are scarce, and also provision of clean water to the residents and working together with the government to build boreholes that will be there to be able to sustain the community distribution of water over the years. So that's how we work well with the government, and also aligning to the government strategies and also complementing what the government is already doing, so that there is a very good collaboration between SHOFCO as programs teams and also the government.
Would you say that SHOFCO's work encourages the government towards
Yes.
responsibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an Amnesty Society, our core values are dignity, equality, and freedom from discrimination. How do these values resonate with the work that SHOFCO does?
Yeah, it really resonates very well, because one thing when we talk about our gender-based violence work or prevention and response work, it's all about bringing back the smile to women and girls. And it's about dignity, it's about respecting their human rights, and it's about helping them access justice and eventually rebuilding resilience and rebuilding their life. That is well aligned to the dignity value within Amnesty. Then also when you talk about the other values, like all our programs are geared towards supporting the community to rebuild themselves and rebuild resilience and all that kind of work. So when you look at the values and how they resonate, I feel like even issues of discrimination and freedom, the community is given a lot of power to talk about their issues and suggest solutions to their own issues, and also a voice. Like we have a program which is implemented by SHOFCO, urban network that is integrated within SHOFCO. It's called the Youth Voice and Empowerment Program, where young people are given platforms to talk about their issues, talk about their needs, talk about their solutions to their own issues, and see how best SHOFCO supports them to achieve most of their dreams, and also encourage and we don't promote discrimination. So that's one thing, we also put it clearly out there. So we are also extremely very inclusive and very supportive to the different aspect of the young people, women and girls, and also men. Yeah.
Definitely. We talked about men being involved in women's equity earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
What does international solidarity mean for grassroots organizations like SHOFCO? How can students get involved from, say, where I am in the UK? And how can they engage responsibly and meaningfully rather than performatively?
Yeah. So for me, maybe I can just give a view, like nationally, how students are involved nationally in Kenya. We have a lot of students who are coming into our organization and different programs to learn how we are doing our work, and also to be part of the transformation journey to the communities that we work in. So, for example, you'll find a lot of social work students coming from different universities in Kenya to work with the Gender and Inclusion Department, to work with education, to work with water and sanitation department, and also sustainable livelihood program. And through that, the students are able to learn all these values. They're able to appreciate the work and the impact that SHOFCO is doing and for the communities where we are based. So internationally, I think also we've received some students internationally who've come in to really work with us to learn from the locals of Kenya on how best we do our work. But we also encourage a lot of learnings and relearning, and we also encourage a lot of participation. And also, we really urge for students to become partners in terms of our work and promote our work out there in terms of what we are doing and the much of it, what's our impact within the communities, and also to inspire. So internationally, we want to also to inspire students out there with the kind of work we are doing in terms of our impact to really transform these communities. And they become part and parcel and become our allies and partners in achieving our work and supporting us to do our work better and all that. Yeah. So that will be my feedback on that.
Yeah, I know SHOFCO resonates with saying champion, invite, invest.
Yeah.
If there was one key message that you would want students to understand about SHOFCO's work and also women's rights, or even just human rights, what would it be? What would you want to tell students?
So for me, I would say like for Shoko, when you talk about gender and women's work, we want to make a call out there that as we celebrate the Women's International Women's Day this month, we were talking about give to gain. So when you give, you will be able to gain a lot, and there's need for more collaboration and partnership with people within and outside Shofco to enable this work to remain impactful in our community and to change lives. And also the aspect of seeing what we can be able to contribute to ensure that women's lives matter. Because when you look at statistics, especially in Kenya, we are seeing the gender-based violence statistics are going higher and higher, and also sexual gender-based violence against children. Like we see a lot of defilement cases on a day-to-day basis in our news, and we are calling out to every person to become protectors of women and girls, to inspire, to become partners, to invest in this kind of programs, and to see the impact that you're gonna change the world. Yes.
Yeah. So we've got some questions that have been given by a few of our members that I'd like to ask you. There was something that I also would like to know more about, which is the environmental issues. How does SHOFCO tackle empowering women and girls and communities when environmental issues occur?
Yeah, for example, currently there have been floods in Kenya, and basically that's a climate justice issue and also environmental issue. And what we've done is we try to sensitize the communities, especially women and girls, to identify flood-prone areas so that they are able to move away from floods, so that they don't become victims of floods issue. And also we are trying to also to encourage the women and girls and also the community at large to be able during the tree planting days to be able to plant trees, and in terms of sanitation and environmental aspect to play a big role in supporting our water and sanitation hygiene program, where we refer them and also link them up to recyclable kind of products so that they are able to see how locally they can afford them without using a lot of money, and also it becomes economical for them. So we have different aspects in terms of the environmental linkages with women and girls within the informal settlement to improve their lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question that one of our members has asked is, which SHOFCO initiative do you believe has had the biggest impact on the lives of women and girls? And they'd like to know more about that.
Definitely, when we talk about the life of women and girls, I'll speak highly about gender and inclusion program, because when you look at the cases we've seen, like only last year, 2025, we've seen a total of 50,000 gender-based violence survivors cases, and around 90% of these cases are women and girls. So when you talk about women and girls and its impact, I will simply talk highly about gender and inclusion work. Then the next program that has really had a very high impact on working with women and girls, I would say, is the Sustainable Livelihood Programs, where we have a specific program called SHOFCO Women Empowerment Program, where women are recruited and they are mobilized and they are trained on income generating activities. Like they do tailoring, they do beading, they do soap making, and they go out there and they start all over again in their lives, and they become really empowered financially and economically in their lives to take care of their whole family. Like, for example, we have a woman who has, as I explained before, has 4 children, and she's able to do an income generating activity that eventually she's able to feed her 4 children. So it means this one woman has changed the life of her 4 children. So that's the practical impact we are seeing with our sustainable livelihood and economic empowerment programs across the different counties in Kenya, and the different regions in Kenya.
Yeah. Has Kenya's 5-year national strategic plan to end gender-based violence, which SHOFCO I know has played a pivotal role in shaping, has it resulted in any tangible impact on the ground? That's what one of our
Yes.
members.
Yes. So one of the major things, most of our learnings, we've done a very good job. Like one of our major learnings is in our cases that we handle, especially sexual gender-based violence cases, according to the strategy of the government, is to reduce cases of gender-based violence, especially sexual. So when you look at our data last year, 10% of the convictions in Kenya as a whole came from SHOFCO as an organization. Like over 133 cases of conviction came from SHOFCO initiatives, SHOFCO Gender and Inclusion Program. So that's it's a huge success to this country, and linking it up to the bigger picture of the cases that are being convicted on a daily basis. And the judicial process takes long in Kenya, but within 1 year, we've been able to really contribute to 10% of the conviction rate in this country. Another aspect also within our gender work, within the national strategy of GBV, we've been featured as an organization that provides holistic programming to gender-based violence survivors. Why? We have a very well-elaborate prevention and response work. In our organization, when you talk about gender and inclusion, you just don't talk about providing medical or providing psychosocial support. You talk about providing holistic case management services to the survivors. Like, for example, we run safe houses in different parts of Nairobi, and now we are building surfaces with the government. So it means when a young woman comes in with a domestic violence issue, she's been abused, she's been violated, that woman can as well be admitted in one of our shelters in SHOFCO and get provided with counseling, mental health support, still receive legal support by being accompanied to the police and taking their case to court and the medical. So a woman can get a whole holistic services within our gender and inclusion program, and many other success aspects we've been able featured by the government and the gender state department of gender specifically.
Yeah, the 10% of cases convictions is just amazing. For you, in your day-to-day work, when would you feel the most frustrated then Where do you feel the most encouraged by these systems and institutions?
One thing for sure, anyone will attest that when you work in the gender and inclusion and child protection work, the most frustrating point is when you feel like your hands are tied. There's a case, there's a girl, there's a woman, there's a man, there's a boy who needs to be fully supported. And maybe the challenge is not, you don't want the challenge is the barriers that women face. Like most of the women in Kibera are invisible to many people out there. Like you look at the government, you look at the structures, and they assume that is an informal settlement. They don't deserve any kind of service. But the most frustrating thing is looking at women as invisible. You look at the women farthest from behind, a woman who is a widow, a woman who is coming from a child-headed home like a child, a woman who has a disability, and you feel like your hands are tied and you've tried everything to support the woman and nothing is coming through. But the most rewarding bit of everything for this work is when you've touched her life and you've seen a transformation and you've seen change. Like, for example, if a girl was defiled and she gets justice by the end of the day, and you see her growing and flourishing in school and really happy again, that's a really fulfillment for any person working in this kind of space. And that's where I get fulfillment from, like when you've changed our soul, when you've changed our life. Yeah.
Definitely, and that's what encourages you to carry on the work. And we talked about these issues that women face being invisible. Out of all the barriers, which one do you think outside of Kibera is the most invisible?
Oh, the most invisible is putting women in one basket. Like when you assume all women deserve the same kind of support, when you assume all women deserve all kind of the same kind of programming, that is making women invisible. Like it's good to know that we are all women, but it's also good to have the intersectionality in terms of what different issues the women face and what kind of programs are we developing for such women to address their needs. So women become invisible when you ignore their needs, you ignore to design programs that are addressing their issue, you ignore to ensure that every need that is very special for this woman needs to be addressed in a specific way and the program needs to be designed differently. Like, for example, when you design a program for a woman with disability, it's not the same kind of program you design for a woman with a young child, like a 21 woman with a 2-year-old child. Those are different kind of needs and different kind of aspect and design of programs that needs to be really designed in a way that they'll address and really address the invisibility of all these women.
Yeah. What keeps you personally motivated to continue the work? Is it seeing these cases come out with convictions? Yeah, what would you say keeps you personally motivated?
What makes me motivated to do this work is like I started doing this work when I was 21 years of age. As I was a part-time staff in a small organization. And through that, I learned that I really need to, if I can do something to change someone's life, it really gives me a lot of fulfillment and it motivates me. And it reminds me that I'm human. It reminds me there's hope. There's a lot of hope in this world. It just takes one person to bring that hope to one particular individual. So I believe in hope. I believe in positive change. I believe in changing people's lives. I believe in doing my best. So that's what motivates me and just seeing someone smile. I smile a lot too.
SHOFCO's work is so positive and this was so
Yeah.
insightful. Um, yeah, so just to close, I just want to give my sincere thank you to you, Caroline, for your insightful discussion on gender inequality. It's given our members some great information about how to get involved in SHOFCO's work. And also on the side, I want to thank Jenny Peck, Avanti Chen, and Eric Lawrence for helping organize this. Your team is great, Caro, and yeah, we're so grateful for your support. And SHOFCO's work has not deepened our understanding. It's only deepened our understanding of challenges, but it's also reminded us about the power of community and driven change. So thank you for everyone who got involved in Caro. Thank you again. For those who want to give a donation, SHOFCO's website and also Amnesty Society has organised a fundraising page where all of our profits will go towards SHOFCO. So all contributions help. But again, Caro, thank you so much. for this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was an honor being here today, and I wish you all the best and everyone listening. Thank you so much.
So much. Thank you, Karen. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.